Hi, this is Julie Lewis from Create Community Studios, and welcome back to our Taking Care video series. Today we're going to do a little bit of painting, and I'm going to show you how to use some homemade materials in case you don't have any paints or even maybe brushes at home. This is something you can do with whatever you have in the kitchen. So I'm sitting here with my cup of tea, hitting the pause button a little bit. And I like to drink these yogi teas, first of all, because they're super tasty and they have all kinds of, herbal medicinal properties, but also because they have these great little quotes in them. And today's quote was, the purpose of life is to know yourself and to love yourself and to trust yourself and to be yourself. And that really hit home because we have a lot of time with ourselves right now, and that can be good and bad. It can be some of us are feeling the loneliness, the disconnect. Those of us that are introverts might just be in heaven. I'm an extrovert, so this is really hard for me. But I am trying to take advantage of the time to go within and maybe reprioritize and think about things that are really important in life right now. So as I was doing that, I was thinking, what fills me up in life? I love my tea, I love my coffee, I love my soup. It's pretty much me all winter long. And it made me think of an activity that I had done in my art journal several years ago, where I did just that. I thought about all the things that weren't serving me, and I talked about, I drew a picture about getting rid of those things, pouring those things out of my cup, because they were overwhelming, they were overflowing, there was too much of them in my life. And then I thought about, what fills my cup, what fills me up and makes me feel re-energized and restored and relaxed and, full of life. And so I'll just move that a little closer. You can see some of the things. I collected some of those little tea bags, those little poems in the tea bags, and then I made some of my own as well. So I started thinking, like I said, how can we reach people at home who don't have art supplies or maybe don't have the disposable income to order them right now, and what could we use? So I did a little digging on the internet. There's so many things right in your kitchen that you can use. Certainly lots of dyes are made from natural things like turmeric and beets and berries, and those are all things that we can actually make paint out of, pigments out of. But the easiest one is leftover coffee and tea. So today we're going to do some painting with coffee. And I do have a brush. I have my leftover coffee that I just put into a jam jar. And if you don't have a brush, I did actually find a little hack online where many of us are trimming our own hair these days too. So if you trim a little piece of hair, don't do this, if you're not that committed to it, but you can certainly, use any kind of paintbrush, even if it's a household paintbrush, and create your own brush with a stick and some hair. So careful with that one. I was a little nervous to suggest it, but certainly desperate times call for desperate measures. So I'm going to go ahead and tip my screen down, my camera down, so you can see. And I'm going to start down on the bottom side of my pager. So I have my leftover coffee, a little bit of water just to wash out my brush if I need to, and my brush. I'm using watercolor paper, but if that's not something you have at home, certainly any kind of heavyweight paper, even cardboard, the inside of a cereal or a cracker box, something that's heavier weight is helpful when you use watercolors or any kind of really watery paint. Certainly not necessary, just means you may not be able to use as many layers. So I'm going to start down in the bottom right-hand corner, and I've oriented my paper in the landscape just to give us enough space to do this. So I'm just going to make sort of a square rectangular shape, round out the bottom a little bit and the sides. And give a little bit of dimension to the top with an oval there. And I go over each stroke several times until I sort of get the color that I want. What's lovely is these kind of, coffee produces this sort of vintage sepia toned kind of look, and I love that natural pigment. I'm going to make a little handle over on the side here, and I'm just going to do a little bit of shading off the side, just again to give this a little more dimension. You notice that when I mix up from the bottom of my coffee too, I get some of the darker and even some grounds in there. So every once in a while, give it a good mix in the bottom. And then I'm going to add some swirls here, and the swirls are that steam that we all want to let off, all the things that we're trying to let go of right now. The anxiety, the worry, the fear, the sadness, the grief, the loss of connection with loved ones, and the sadness from this illness that's really affecting people's lives in so many ways. We're worried about our businesses, we're worried about the health of our loved ones, we're worried about our finances, we're worried about our kids and their schooling and their safety, and there's a lot of worry to let go of. I'm going to just turn this light off a little bit. Still playing a little bit with how the lighting works down here in my newly created home studio in my basement. And also, if you're finding that you've just got some puddles in places, you can even dab, and sometimes that sort of creates kind of an interesting effect too. I just took a paper towel or a tissue and just dab and soak up a little bit of that excess coffee. On the left-hand side of my paper, I'm going to create a coffee pot. I'm getting lots of drips, but you know what? I'm not caring about the drips right now because I love that this is just kind of this organic, natural paint, and so I'm going with the flow on this one. So in my teapot, I am thinking about all of the things that fill me up, and all of the things that nourish me, and all of the things I need right now to help restore, re-energize, and fill me up to keep going during this time. You know, it's hard. I'm finding myself to be very tired, very fatigued, needing a lot more rest, needing a lot more breaks. A little handle on the top of my teapot, my coffee pot there. I'm going to make a little spout here. Kind of moving into my steam a little bit there, but it's okay. I'm just going to go right over that steam. And so creating this image of what is inside that teapot that you're going to fill up your cup. You're letting go of all these things through that steam, and then what are you going to use to fill up that cup? So I'm going to just tilt and so you can see it's a very simple picture. I even love sort of the aromatherapy of using the coffee. And I want to just show you an image that my practice image that I worked on here. So my practice image kind of involved thinking about letting go of some of these things here. So loneliness and anger and grief and tension and worry and fear and anxiety, all the things that I feel like I'm struggling with right now. Disconnect might have been another one I would add in there. And then in my teapot, adding some things that I know are really good self-care for me, the things that I need to remember to do, just like taking my vitamins, brushing my teeth, all the things that help me take care of myself are art, creativity, music, connection, rest, getting out in nature, of course, 6 feet apart from those around me, but even just taking my shoes off outside in the grass and grounding myself and feeling the earth has been really helpful. eating good food, and getting plenty of water. I added hugs in there, and that's a tricky one because we obviously can't do that with everyone, but maybe with healthy and safe family members that we are staying at home with, we can ask for hugs or give hugs, because that certainly makes a difference in our, in missing that physical connection that we're all missing right now. Laughter has been a huge one. I've been seeking out every funny YouTube video that's out there just to give myself a good belly laugh. And the last one is breath. And I'm going to leave you actually with the breath work. I just want to share with you a breathing technique that I learned the other day. I am currently in yoga teacher training, and the breathing is really helping out right now. We worked on something called candle breath, and the goal was to have, a candle with a small flickering flame in front of you, and to take that deep breath in and then slowly blowing out, sort of with pierced lips, onto that flame, and not blowing the flame out completely, but just making that flame flicker and dance, and kind of meditating on that for a little while as well. And as I was sitting with my tea thinking about making this video, I thought, when you blow on your tea or your coffee, it's kind of the same thing. And it's one of those things that comforts us and soothes our nervous system. So, maybe before or after you start this activity, you can take a deep breath in and smell that lovely tea or coffee, and then just take a couple of those deep breaths where you, just like when you're blowing on your tea or your coffee to cool it off a little bit. It's very similar to candle breath. So I hope you can find some things around your house to make some art with coffee or tea, and fill up your cup and let go of some of the things that are worrying and stressing you right now. As hard as that is, it's a daily practice that I hope you find helpful. So thanks for joining me, and stay tuned for more videos in our Taking Care series, and I'll see you soon.